We begin our time in Velen by tracking down a spy who may know of Ciri's whereabouts. We go to a tavern on our way and come across some soldiers who belong to a local baron.
Oi, grey boy, what's the point of having two swords?
Wonder if he keeps an extra prick in his trousers too.
You fucking deaf? Gonna say who you are? Or do I need to loosen your tongue with me knife?
Your response here will not only affect the current interaction, but will also cause things to change once you reach the Baron's Manor. The problem I have is that this is one of the very few examples of this being an RPG. I will expand on this statement later, but for now let's continue. No matter what you choose, the bartender will tell you where to find the spy. We go to the village and discover little more than snow-covered destruction. We fight off some monsters and speak with the sole survivor. He tells us that the wild hunt came to the village and destroyed it. We go to the spy's house and find him dead. After searching his writings, we find out that the Baron might know something about Ciri, so we go to his manor. If you killed his men, you will need to work a bit harder to get inside the gate. I went the friendly route, so I get in after a quick chat with the guards. We have a conversation with the Baron about Ciri, and he says that he has information about her, but he's only willing to share it if we find his missing wife and daughter. I have a question. Couldn't Geralt just use Axii Hex to get the information? Sure, it would be in poor taste, but the game lets you, and even makes you, do far worse things to far better people. Anyway, we do some investigating around the house and find a clue that suggests the missing persons had some magical involvement. The Baron points us to a local peller and a medicine woman at a nearby village. Both of these have their own story trail. The peller leads to the daughter, and the medicine woman leads to the mother. When we get to the peller's hut, he is being harassed by some of the Baron's men.
What do you want?
Want to talk to the peller.
Too late. We've got dibs on a chat with him. A long one.
Think you need to leave now.
Do we?
You do.
Well, let's go then.
Did Geralt really just Axii Hex a group of 5 men, with virtually no effort whatsoever? What exactly are the limits of this power? I'll get more into this in the gameplay section, but for now I hope you can at least see the cracks in the story because of this power's existence. We talk to the peller and he sends us on a quest to fetch his pet goat. Once we do that, he performs a ritual and tells us that the Baron's wife had a stillborn child. We take this information to the Baron, and now we get the bigger picture.
Sit down. You beat them.
I never laid a finger on Tamara. Not once.
And on Anna.
That's another story. She always knew how to spark my ire.
Your wife. How'd she make you angry? Too much salt in the soup? Socks never darned?
20 years we've known each other. She's seen me drunk and sober. She was there to greet me when I returned the victor. She was there to patch me up in defeat. Like no other, she knew where to press, where to pinch, so it would hurt.
You beat her? For that? For criticizing you?
Oh, Witcher, you haven't a clue, have you? Well, perhaps I shall tell you about it one day. One day, but not today.
Expect me to believe you were a loving father to Tamara after that scene in the courtyard?
You're free to believe whatever you wish, but she was always the apple of my eye. She had the run of the place, ask anyone. She'd ride the horses, hunt with the men, at times join them on their rounds. And they'd send for her when I flew into a rage, for only she could calm me.
Make it sound like she led a charmed life. If that's the case, why'd she run?
I'd hardly need you if I knew.
You knew they had run away from the start.
Yes, I knew.
Why didn't you tell me? Wasted my time.
Say I had. Say I'd said I had troubles. Couldn't control my wife, my daughter. What kind of flaccid prick would you take me for?
Gotta admit, I do think you're a prick. Not because you couldn't control them, but because you drove them away.
What?
Don't play the idiot. You gave them no choice.
Anna and I. It wasn't as it seemed. Seems.
All right, I'm all ears. Tell me what happened. The truth this time.
I'd been soaking myself 3 days straight. Anna came to me, said they were leaving. I begged them to stay. She refused to hear it. I tried to stop her. She wriggled like an eel. We struggled. She fell. Last blasted thing I remember. Woke up in the morn, breeches heavy with my own piss. A large bump on my head. Sadly, they were gone. Know what that's like, Witcher? No. How the fuck could you? I was left with nothing. Nothing! Only the bottle.
What happened next?
Next. It only got worse. I awoke at sunset, not knowing how many days had passed. Thought it was all a ploughing, drunken nightmare. And then I went to the bedchamber, but Anna was not there. Instead, there was blood everywhere. I knew she'd miscarried. My breath short, my throat locked. I neared the bed and saw it. It lay there, a tiny thing, defenseless, on bloodied sheets, dead. And it was my doing.
Maybe you're doing, maybe not. But that amulet she wore could be important. Or maybe the fact that she lost it. What did you do with the child?
What was I to do? Took it out and buried it.
Just like that?
Damn you! I gave no thought to a funeral. It was a horror. I wanted it to end. That child had been my dream. I told Anna, the little one, our little one, to make things right. Yet she died before she could be born. Understand, Witcher? My child was dead.
I sympathize. I do.
Thank you. And know that I hope you find your Ciri.
Deal we made means I need to find Tamara and Anna first. Just so happens your unborn daughter might help us do that.
What? How?
Sometimes miscarried fetuses, if they don't get a proper burial, turn into botchlings.
Into fucking what?
A cursed creature that draws strength from killing pregnant women. Once it's strong enough, it attacks those who scorned it.
But how? How does it know?
Blood ties. They're a strong bond. A bond I want to use to find your family.
How?
One of two ways. Legends claim you can bury a botchling under the family's threshold, perform a ritual, and turn it into a lubberkin. That's a sort of, hob, a guardian spirit that could lead me to your family.
And the other way?
We kill it and draw some blood. Take that to the Peller and he does the rest.
Do not kill my child. It's suffered enough already. Lift the curse that it may finally rest in peace.
We head to where the Baron buried the child and come across my personal favorite monster. This is probably the most horrific creature in the game. It is both depressing and repulsive. We take it back to the house and bury it. Once it rises, it leads us to a farmhouse where we get some clues about the women we are trying to find. We travel along and find some more clues, some disemboweled horses. We eventually make it to a house where we find a family that helped the women flee the Baron's manor. They tell us that the daughter went to Oxenfurt, while the wife was taken away by some monster that likely killed her. We go to Oxenfurt and find the daughter, but she is completely unwilling to have anything to do with her father, going so far as to verbally disown him, which means that we now have to find the wife. So we go to the medicine woman, or witch, and it turns out to be Kreia Mertz. I've never heard of her before, but apparently she's big in the book, so okay. We ask her about Ciri, and she says that someone else had recently asked about her as well. An elven mage who wore a mask. It is more than safe to assume at this point that it is the companion Ciri had on Skellige. We go to the mage's hideout to look for clues and come across the Wild Hunt. We follow them through the cave until we are forced to fight one of them. This guy, Nithriel, can really kick your ass. If one member of the Wild Hunt is this powerful, then an army of them is bad news. We beat him and then search what is left of the mage's lab.
Cyril, this place is no longer safe. Do not tarry here long. Trust no one, and above all, beware the witches of Crookback Bog. Try to reach the place where last we were together.
So now we have to go visit the witches of Crookback Bog. We find our way through the swamp and come across a bunch of children who are being cared for by some old lady that they call Granny. They are not interested in telling me much of anything, so we have to hunt down a local godling for help. This is Johnny, everybody. Johnny is just fantastic. He's barely in the game and he's one of my favorite characters. Anyway, he convinces Granny to let us talk to the witches.
Ladies lovely, with power o'er all, beseech I thee, answer my call. Before you a worm crawls, wretched and small.
How dare you disturb our rest, woman?
I'm looking for the woman with ashen hair. I know you met her. Where is she?
Oh, he's impatient. Perhaps he only likes ashen-haired girls.
The young woman. She's my daughter by choice. I raised her.
If she's shapely, what does it matter?
Matters to me.
I believe we've hit a nerve. He's bubbling like well-fed yeast. Oh, that's how I like him.
It's clear you met her. Tell me everything.
That was blunt. Well, perhaps it's for the best. Tell me, have you got bollocks? Do you fear woodland beasts?
Oh, hard times are upon us, white-haired one. Brother has turned against brother. The land is soaked in blood. Evil reigns stronger than ever before.
A dark power has surfaced near Downwarren. It feeds on hatred and disdain. Destroy the beast, and we will be grateful. Tell you all we know about this ashen-haired maid.
Dark power? You need a knight errant or a witch hunter, not a witcher.
The alderman of Downwarren will tell you all. Remember to collect payment from him after you complete your task.
Now this is the big decision of this chapter. You can either kill the spirit like the witches want, free the spirit by bringing it a horse to possess, or the third option, free it before you even talk to the witches, which is what I did for this playthrough. The difference in results will be revealed later on, but for now all you need to know is that you have options. Once you make your choice, you will have to go get the ear of one of the village people and bring it to the witches.
Sheathe your weapon, young man!
He's even lovelier in real life.
In real life, you're different than you were in the tapestry.
Well, bring it here!
You can bring it, not ugly.
Never seek to cross us again!
We shall forgive you this transgression, for you've done well. Your children are plump as piglets, sweet as caramel.
But now we must talk to our white-haired friend.
I know that mark. This is Anna, the wife of the Baron of Crow's Perch.
She belongs to no man.
A fruit ripened in her womb. A fruit sprouted from seed sown by a man she detested.
We helped her. She agreed to serve. She bears the mark. She is ours. Come. It is another woman who interests you. Speak, white-haired one.
Our deal. I did my part, now you do yours.
A word once given, we never break. The girl. Mousy blonde. That's what they call it.
Thin as a rail, terrified, exhausted. She could barely stand, the poor thing.
We cared for her as best we could. Like she was our own daughter. Wasted affection. She proved a very naughty girl. Mischievous, stubborn, and selfish.
Don't believe you. They say you always keep your word, so tell me everything, exactly as it happened.
We shall tell you, brave boy. We knew someone supposed to arrive. We read beast entrails, saw the omens.
We would glimpse her likeness, a mirage in a puddle. She came from the lower swamp. We knew not at first it was her the omens had spoken of.
A child of the elder blood, the sole seed that would burst into flame.
She fell into our hands. Elder blood!
The blood of the traitress. Does she sleep?
Like a lamb.
Come, sisters, no point in dawdling. The table's set. The cauldron bubbles.
We cannot! You know she is meant for him!
Emirath will get her. He will, but not whole.
Well said. We'll just have a sample.
I'll take her feet. Lovely. Plump. Perfect for a broth.
I can taste it already. Very well. Get on with it!
So now we know that the witches tried to eat parts of Ciri, and that they have enslaved the Baron's wife, and that they probably literally eat children. Geralt engages all of them in combat.
And if you find her, the girl will die.
Seeing you, handsome knight.
Or they just walk away and we let them go. Well, I guess they're probably pretty tough, even for a veteran witcher like Geralt. So we will go to the Baron and get his assistance. We return to the Baron and tell him about his daughter and wife. He is surprisingly willing to let his daughter choose her own path, but he wants our help to kill the witches. First off, however, we gotta learn about what happened to Ciri. There are scenes with Ciri prior to the one at the forest, but that one is the first in the story sequence, so to make it less confusing, I showed it first. After fleeing the witches, Ciri happens across a little girl and then a local villager. The villager takes the two of them to the Baron in hopes of collecting the reward for the Baron's missing family. So the Baron's family was missing before Ciri arrived. Okay, bear with me here. When you follow the Hob, it takes you to a place where you can find clues about the Baron's family, specifically footprints, clothes, and a dead horse. This means that the Baron's family ran away quite recently, because if not, then all three of those things would either be washed away or completely eaten. Keep that in mind because I'm not done with it yet. The Baron takes a liking to Ciri and lets her stick around for a while. They end up going on a hunt and are attacked by a cockatrice. Ciri is forced to teleport to save the Baron's life, and because of this, she is afraid that the Wild Hunt will find her. So she leaves the Baron's manor. Now that we're done with that, the Baron tells us exactly why his family left him. I consider this to be a highlight of the game, so I will let it play in full.
You still think me rotten to the core. A base bastard, don't you? You believe I alone am at fault for what happened here?
Actually, that's exactly what I think.
The world might seem black and white to you witches, but for us common folk, it's shades of grey. As is my family's story.
Probably gonna say you're not the only one to blame. Alright then, I'm willing to hear your side of the story.
With Annie, it was love at first sight. A spear tore through my shoulder at the Battle of Anchor. She tended to my wound. Once I'd recovered, I asked her to marry me. She wept with joy. Soon after, Tamara was born. And after that, they sent me to Sidaris. A warlord had risen against King Ethan, and Foltest sent help. It was one battle to the next. One conflict after another. It was a life of war. I was seldom home, and I found comfort in drink. Grew so fond of hooch, I couldn't part with it when I did get home.
Alright. What then?
I went from front to front, battle to battle, collecting soldiers' coin, while Anna sat alone with the babe for months. Later, I learned she'd not been so alone after all. For nearly 3 years, she'd found comfort in the arms of one Evan, a childhood friend, a dog's bunghole. Understand, damn it? One tussle in the hay I'd have waved aside, put it out of my mind. But the woman cuckolded me for years, without a whisker of concern for me, for my love.
How'd you find out?
Came home one day and Anna was gone. The things too. Found a letter. She wrote that she didn't love me. That she'd left me for that knob licker and taken Tamara with her. Felt like I'd been rammed in the arse by a horse. I went to find the bugger, to get the girls back, bring them home. Yet soon as I saw him, something turned inside me, something dark. I slaughtered the shit-eating twat and fed his carcass to the dogs.
Imagine Anna wasn't exactly pleased.
Ha! Bloody understatement if I've ever heard one. She flew into a fit, hysteria, threw herself at me, kicking and clawing. Finally grabbed a knife. It would have been the end of me if I'd not leapt aside. It was the first time I hit her. I had to calm her. Felt I had no other means. Things changed. They would never be the same. Anna tried to take her own life, and mine, several times. She would prod me, goad me, taunt me, in the hope I would hit her again, perhaps. She'd scream that I'd robbed her life of love, that I'd destroyed the idea for her and so might as well kill her. How many times I apologized. How many armfuls of blooms and gifts I brought. She cared not a bit. 2 years of her anger had turned to indifference, broken at times by her bouts of hysteria and my bouts of drunkenness. Cannot fathom how we survived those years, but we did. Though as you know now, not everything was as it might have seemed.
You're right. Faults on both sides, yours and hers.
I'm content that you finally see that. Very well then. If you won't bring Anna home, you might at least tell me how she landed in that blasted swamp.
She made a pact with the crones and... well, I think she might have lost her mind.
A pact? What the bloody hell?
She was with child, a child she didn't want to bear. Went to the crones for help. They promised to rid her of the problem in exchange for a year of her service. And they kept their word, in their own twisted way.
What do you mean?
Anna must have thought the child inside her would somehow disappear. Instead, the crones sapped her of strength, and ultimately forced her body to miscarry. I think that's when she started to lose her mind. Then they placed magic tethers on her, tethers that cause great pain when tested. A guarantee she'll pay off her debt.
A pact with witches? Bloody nightmare, sounds like some jest. We must get her out. We can't leave her there.
Venturing into the swamp, even with armed men, is just a bad idea. It's a dangerous place inherently, and I think those crones are a greater threat than anyone realizes.
I'll not sit on my arse waiting for them to return her. Would you wait? Count on their mercy if they had your daughter?
Probably not, but I'm a witcher.
And I'm a husband and a father who's fucked up his life and the lives of his loved ones. I'll gather my men, go there and retrieve Anna.
This is the best character in the game by far, and quite possibly one of the best in the video games. He did terrible things to his family, and he regrets it indefinitely. He is shown to be an excellent friend to his men and Ciri, but the one thing he cares about the most has been a complete failure, due in large part to his mistakes. I honestly wish I could help the guy beyond just finding his family, but the most I could possibly do at this point is help him rescue his wife.
I've no more tales of Ciri to offer you, but go with me and I'll be generous with what I do have. Very generous.
Extra coin never hurt.
Ha! True indeed. I'll round up my men and ride to Downwarren. You can join us there.
Fine. Sounds good.
You have got to be fucking kidding me. I wasn't going to mention this, but now I am. The fact that Ciri happened to teleport near the witches, and that the Baron's wife made a pact with the witches is just a coincidence, right? Then, Ciri finds her way to the same Baron's house and becomes his buddy. I would be happy to accept all of this, even if it is a coincidence. But this is unbelievably contrived. Not to mention the fact that Geralt can recognize this thing from a description from a dead guy that talks worse than fucking Sloth. How the hell did it end up here anyway?
Where'd you find him?
Funny story, actually. I won him in a game of cards.
Funny story? How so?
I went to Novigrad once to rest, indulge in the city's pleasures. Stayed at a tavern and some folk there were playing, so I joined in. Cards were kind that day. Had one devilish hand after another. Robbed the whoresun's blind. One fellow, a merchant, took it especially hard. He'd gambled away everything he'd brought from Skellige. Wanted terribly to play another hand, so I agreed. Asked him what he had to wager, and he showed me that sideshow. Not much in it for me, but fuck it, I thought. I'll give the man a chance to win something back. Luck was not with him, and Uma wound up here at Crow's Perch. End of story.
You went to Novigrad once and won it in a game of cards? Where were you keeping it? I've been all over your state and never saw it once. I've even been in your stable. Granted, it was on fire, but fuck. Anyway, we get permission to take the thing to Kaer Morhen. But before we get into that, I'm going to finish the Baron's quest. We go to the forest, and after some fighting, we save Anna. Now this is one of the few points in the game where your decisions come into play. The problem is, this result feels kind of random. If you freed that tree spirit we talked about earlier, then Anna ends up dead, and the Baron kills himself out of guilt or heartbreak, I suppose. If you kill the tree spirit, then Anna lives, but her mind is broken, so the Baron takes her to a faraway place in hopes of having her mind restored. Then there is the third option, free the spirit before you meet the witches, and Anna lives, but her mind is broken, so the Baron takes her to a far away place in hopes of having her mind restored. Not being able to have a completely happy ending is completely reasonable given the whole situation. But why did it have to be because of a fucking tree? I feel like you could have made it something more obvious. Maybe even keep it the way it is, but make it clear what will happen if you make either decision. The way it is just feels kind of arbitrary. Now that we have that out of the way, there is one thing left to do in this chapter. Remember Crea Mertz? Well, she needs our help with something, and what kind of witcher would we be if we didn't help a sorceress in need? She wants us to investigate a supposedly haunted tower on a lake island. We go there and find that a wraith haunts the tower. She tells me what happens to her.
I'm special. Always was. The rare beauty. The Lord's daughter. These lands, as far as the eye can see, were ours. My family and I, we hid in the Mage's Tower to await the war's end, the end of hard times. It was not to be forever.
Mage who lived here. Who was he?
Alexander? I hardly knew him. He spent most of his time locked away in this tower. He's dead too, you know. There They're all dead. Mountains of corpses, yet I stand here alone, all alone. They've all abandoned me. Even he who promised me everlasting love. You will abandon me as well.
If I can lift the curse, you yourself will be free to leave. Tell me what happened here. Peasants sailed to the island to ask for food. Is that true?
No. They came to rob and kill. They thought us rich, believed we'd stowed ourselves away here to laugh at their misery. Yet we had little food as well. Too little to share with those who came. They slaughtered everyone. I heard my father cry out, but the mage told me not to reveal myself or let anyone in. He gave me a potion. If I was discovered, I was to drink it. He said everything would be all right.
What kind of potion was it? Remember its smell? What it looked like?
I remember only that I feared to drink it.
Didn't trust the mage?
In the village, they claimed he meddled in disease. Not curing it, but causing it. They said he lured rats into the tower, infected them with the Catriona. Only rumors, surely, but I was afraid. So horribly afraid. And then I heard him. My beloved Graham. He called to me. I opened the door for him, but others rushed in. They lunged at me and...
Your beloved failed to save you. Why?
There were too many. Leave her be, he shouted. He grabbed at them, tried to stop them. They just laughed.
Did they hurt you?
They gripped my arms, tore at my dress. I managed to free myself and drink the potion, and then... nothing.
Poisoned? That how you died?
No, for I later awoke. I was alone, it was dark. Only there were rats. Everywhere. Dozens. Hundreds. And I... couldn't move.
Sleeping potion. Effects hadn't worn off yet. You were paralyzed.
They were everywhere. All over me like insects. My face, my hands. I felt them rip open my skin, then crawl into my stomach. They tore me apart, and I could not even scream. Have I not suffered enough? Why can't I leave this place?
Now this is quite honestly my favorite side quest in the game. It is a horrifying tragedy that justifies the curse on the place. And the thing about the rats is just terrifying to me. This quest feels the most in line with how curses should work. Humans doing great evil that leads to an angry, bitter soul coming back to seek vengeance. And the fact that she feels abandoned by the man she loved just seals it. We go to her boyfriend and tell him that we need his help to lift the curse. He comes inside and expresses his love for the girl.
I was sure you was dead. If I'd known otherwise, I'd never have left you. I'd do anything for you. I would. You know that well. Believe me, I beg you.
Prove it. Kiss me.
Graham, careful.
At last.
I'm not sure if this is a happy ending or not. I can dream. Now that we have that cleared up, we go back to Kreia for our reward. She takes us out to dinner, and afterwards we get hanky-panky under the stars. To be completely honest, I kind of wish she was a relationship option. I like her better than either Triss or Yen. Plus, I think it would be 10 times funnier to have the threesome scene be a foursome. Once we wake up from our night of pleasure, we find that Kreia has gone to the tower we cleared. We go after her, and it turns out that she has taken some documents from the tower that relate to the Catriona plague. She wants to use the information to try and find a cure, while also using them to convince Radovid that she could be useful to him. Quite frankly, she's a fucking idiot for thinking Radovid could be persuaded to let so much as a juggler go without execution. We convince her to go to Kaer Morhen, and then we take Uma and head there ourselves. I pretty much sped through this chapter because I don't have that many complaints about it. There are a couple of quests I might call tedious, but it's nowhere near Novigrad. I also think that Uma being with the Baron is stupidly contrived, but overall it was a pretty great chapter. The Baron is already a great character, and the monsters in this section are some of the best that the game has to offer. Seeing as I technically played these 3 sections in reverse, I think I can safely say that the order makes little difference in terms of the story. I will also say that the story gets progressively worse if you do it in the normal order, from the opening to Velen, Novigrad, then Skellige, and finally, Kaer fucking Morhen.